Hi, Ellie. Welcome to my podcast.
Hi, Zania.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Nice to be here.
So excited. For anybody who doesn't know Ellie, I can't believe you don't, because she's probably one of Australasia's best award-winning marketers, who just in 2023 won the Pencil, which you might need to give some of us a bit of an updo on what a pencil is.
Yeah.
But it's a big deal for the Skinny Phone It In campaign. We worked together at Vodafone, where she just kicked some serious ass and did an amazing job. And
alongside you, Zania.
Yeah, but she's incredible to work with, and every person that I've ever met who's ever met her or worked with her can't rave about you enough.
Oh, that's so nice.
And all the incredible things that you do. And I think how innovative you are as a marketer and how you're willing to try new things and do new things. You're brave, and it's cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you want to give us a little bit of an intro to you and like just your career and how you've got to where you are?
Yep,
Yeah.
sure. So I actually started my career, I have a degree in sports science, funnily enough. It's weird.
Yeah.
So marketing was not something I was formally trained in. I finished my degree, ended up starting my career as a sales rep for a sports nutrition company, moved to the US selling Blue 70 wetsuits, so fell into the triathlon industry.
Yeah.
And I was the sole marketer for that business. Travelled a lot, accidentally moved to the UK.
And how do you accidentally move?
Well, my boss at the time...
Did you get on the wrong plane?
No, I was going over to the London Triathlon, and we hired a new boss for me, and he actually lived in Derby, UK.
Yeah.
And while I was over in the UK for the London Triathlon, they said, we've hired this new guy. Do you want to move to Derby? And I said, sure, why not? Late 20s I was. And
Did you even know where Derby was?
no.
You're like, London,
Yeah.
or England, it's going to be so cool. What was it?
Yeah, so moved up to Derby, lasted about 6 months, wasn't really my jam.
Is that because it was Derby?
Yeah, it just wasn't really my thing. I would catch I think it was the £2 bus down to London every weekend and hang out with my friend who was based in Notting Hill. That was fun.
Wow.
Or go to Europe for the weekend.
Love that about the UK.
And then just got a little bit bored and ended up moving back to Seattle, which is where I was previously. And started working for another little sports nutrition company called Noon. N-U-U-N, and that was great. Travelled all over the States, and I was away for about 3 years. Came back to New Zealand and worked for a company, ended up getting made redundant, and there's a whole nother story behind that. And I desperately needed a job, so went to a recruitment company who said, we've got a job for you, it's for 2 weeks, are you interested in applying? I said yes. Turned out to be Vodafone. Yeah.
That's how you got there?
That's how I got there.
Oh my God.
And
And then never left for ages.
I never left. I was there for 3 years.
Yeah.
And then ended up going to Skinny, which was crazy. So I left
Did
Vodafone.
they headhunt you?
Yeah, they tapped me on the shoulder.
Yeah.
So I got walked, literally
Not
got walked.
surprised. Yeah.
That was fun.
Ellie's on gardening leave, everybody.
Yeah. It was funny. And then walked into the Skinny office and saw this one guy who was walking around in bare feet, a singlet where you could see his nipples, and they're all under 25, and I'm sitting there going, what have I done? Turns out it was the best decision ever. I had the time of my life. Yeah, and I was there for 8.5 years working within Skinny.
That is epic. And you did some incredible things while you were working on that brand.
It was amazing.
Tell us like what the highlights were when you look back and you go the epic moments and the things that, you know, maybe you were scared to do them and then you did them. What gave you the gusto and you're brave. So like you've got this kind of willing to try new things.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. I think I have this deep-seated mentality of I'm a bit of a justice fighter. So if I see that something's unfair, then I'll call it out.
You're fighting for fair like phone
it's
bill costs.
It's I don't know, it's just something that I'm not afraid of having hard conversations, and it is hard to do those sorts of things, but I've just kind of learnt to do it, and I've been put in positions that haven't been the most comfortable, and I do it over and over again. So it's a challenge. I like challenges.
Maybe something to do with the sport kind of starting out in your life. That's physical challenges, mental challenges.
Working in startups, so that's before I got to Vodafone was the first corporate that I ever worked in. Yeah. So had always worked in small companies that didn't have any budgets, and you just had to go with it. Had to do whatever you could to make it work.
Did you get a surprise when suddenly you're working in a company that did have some pretty decent marketing budgets?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you did some pretty cool things, which is why the agencies loved it.
Yeah, it's it was a learning curve, definitely.
What are the campaigns that you're most proud of that you've worked on?
Well, we worked on that time we sent somebody to space, or tried to. We won't go into that.
Because they didn't go?
Well, we actually bought a ticket to Virgin Galactica on Virgin Galactica. This must have been just before you started. Yeah, and the legal team, amazing that they still talk to us. And so we did actually buy this. We earmarked this seat on Virgin Galactica
as a prize.
Yeah, as a prize. So you could win. You bought the phone, and then you can go in the draw to win a seat.
To go to the,
and the person,
go to the moon.
Yeah. And the person, this was when I think Virgin Galactica only sent a shuttle, 2 years ago? So this is 10 years prior. Crazy. Anyway, that was fun to work on. And then I think must have been the next year when we gave away $100,000 worth of gold.
Yes, the Galaxy S5 launch. I remember that campaign. It was wicked.
That was fun too.
Yeah.
That was cool. That was the first time I'd ever created a microsite before. And I think you and I worked on that together. Yeah. I was like, what's a microsite?
Yeah, no, that was that was like a hunt, and you had to go around New Zealand and you'd hidden things all around the country.
Yeah, and that was cool. That taught me, the national spread and making sure we talked to all Kiwis. And it was good. It was good fun.
And now more recently with this pencil and the skinny stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty like out there. It was a radio script on bus shelters, and people would phone in to enter their version of the voiceover. Yeah.
So one thing we've always done with Skinny is making sure we do things that are outside. We call it out of the box. So definitely something you don't normally see as a corporate, right? And Skinny's all about we'll do anything to keep prices low and customers happy. So we do things that are unexpected, but feel and look cheap.
Yeah.
And it was all about the hack. So the original idea for Phone It In actually came about probably 2 or 3 years ago.
Did it?
Yeah. And we had moved to Agile. Spark had moved to Agile. Skinny had moved to Agile. So within Agile, you are responsible for your own little areas of work. So originally the idea was we had the script on a billboard, for example, and somebody would call it in, and that would become the ad. So that was the idea. But originally we always thought that you would have to have a prize mechanic for somebody to do it. No one's going to just call an ad.
With no incentive.
No, that's right. So we went to our product team and said, look, can we please do this? Can we give away a gig of data or something every time somebody calls in? And they said, yep, we can do that, but it's going to take 6 months. It needs to go on our backlog. We need to put it into our... into the priorities.
Sprint. Yeah.
And then by the time 6 months came around, we'd kind of moved on.
Marketing never seems to hit the priority list.
Yeah, correct. And that's right. So we moved on, and that kind of got put to bed. And then a couple of years later, I was out to lunch with Cy Vickers, who is the Colenso ECD, I think he is now. And he puts this paper in front of me. It's a false front cover paper. And I said, I've already seen this. It's awesome, but we can't do it. he goes, I think you should just read it. Anyway, I'm sitting there reading it, call 0800 blah, 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 and I'm reading this brilliant script. It was just awesome. And I'm just sitting there cracking up. And then I said, but we can't do it because we can't build any products. Like it's going to take too long to do. And then he said, do you think we need to actually have a prize mechanic? I think the power of the script, could drive enough calls. And I looked at him and I was like, okay, maybe we should just give this a go.
What have you got to lose?
Yeah, that's right.
No calls
And we did. And
did you get loads of people calling in?
Yeah, we had a target which we exceeded within the first week. Wow. People just loved it. They just there was one guy who I'll talk about the iteration of how we actually got to the scripts. So when it's first presented to you, obviously agencies go to town and they do the most elaborate things possible, right? And these scripts that they kept reading out to us were amazing, but they were like 2 minutes long, and you can't put a 2-minute script onto a radio ad. So then we had to write the scripts and make sure that they could be chopped down enough.
15s.
30s.
Yeah.
But then you had the legal aspect, right? If we're going to use somebody's voice, we have to own their IP, or they have to give up their rights to it. So we had to add terms and conditions.
That they had to do in the voiceover.
Correct. Well, they had to agree to it. So then we had to write these terms and conditions that when they called the 0800 number, there was a whole range of things, and we had to nail it in like 20 seconds, and we knew that we would lose people from calling through. Yeah. So they had to be really interesting. Press 1 if you agree, and then you would go into record. And then but so many people did it. They didn't drop off. They went through the terms and conditions.
Do you think all cabbies just want to be famous for like a couple of minutes?
Well, yeah.
Is that it?
There were heaps of people who were like, this is great. Yeah. And we had so many calls that we had to extend the campaign because we were just having too much fun. The agency, Cleanser, were writing scripts 2 days before we finished the campaign. I'm like, no more scripts.
So you could do different versions of the ad.
Every single radio ad was different. Wow. Because we had so many people. That's so cool. Yeah.
And so what is a pencil for those of us who don't know?
Pencil. So
it sounds very important.
I know it's amazing. I'm very, very lucky. So the pencil is it's called the CMO Pencil.
Could they not afford a pen?
It's actually, joke. I'm still waiting for it to arrive actually, and it better be bloody solid gold because it's about this big.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's tiny. But the pencil is an award that is put on by the One Show, and I didn't even know it existed. The One Show is very illustrious in the creative industry, which is amazing. And Skinny had won. It was either 1 or 2 gold pencils for Phone It In, which was great. And apparently all the winners, there's a jury, and they sit down together and go through and find the person who has pushed the most interesting piece of work that year, or whatever it is. And
is this global, This
is global.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And they put me first. They said that I should be awarded, which is absolutely epic. I think it's the first. I'm the first person to win it outside of the States.
That's incredible.
Yeah, definitely New Zealand.
Do you have the Americans tapping on your? Hey, we want you to come and work for us.
I got a lot of messages, which was so awesome. Incredible messages from people. Yeah.
Wow.
It was pretty amazing. It was very overwhelming.
So then you've hit the pinnacle of your career. You're the top of the game. I thought you were the best in Asia Pacific, but she's the best in the world. That's epic. Marketing guru. And then you decide to give that up, and you've pivoted to become a product owner.
Yeah. That's the agile title.
Spark Game Arena.
Yes.
Which is a whole different world to where you've come from.
Yes.
Now, how? Why?
How did that happen? Like I said, I'd been working on Skinny for 8.5 years and loved the brand, still bleed orange, would do anything for the people, the brand, but just kind of got to the point where I was like, I feel like I need something else now. And my boss put Spark Game Arena in front of me, and I hadn't. I do now. Yeah. I do now. I bought a Nintendo Switch.
Oh, yes.
It was actually quite fun.
Yes.
And I think they put me in that role. They asked me to do it because there's a lot of politics.
Yeah.
So I think they just wanted to launch something, right, and get something out there.
Yeah.
And I know how to play the corporate game, right? So I know how to talk to, and yeah. So,
but does it what because being a marketing CMO, which is kind of where you got to, and then pivoting to a product owner, is it completely different skills and?
No, it's not.
No,
not at all. No, it's same skills. This particular role is a lot about partnerships, which I really enjoy, and the team that's sitting in Spark Game Arena are brilliant. They're awesome. There's 4 of us, and everyone is pedal to the metal, and the team's great.
So it's like a startup in a way.
It is, and that's actually the mentality that we have.
You keep throwing yourself into startups.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And what do you think that is? Do you think it's because you just love the speed and the pace and the
definitely.
And you're not kind of helmed by tradition and
One thing within Skinny was that we were always sort of encouraged to not do anything terrible, but definitely ask for forgiveness later.
Yeah.
And just trial stuff, have a go, experiment. If it doesn't work, Spark offers a very amazing environment where you can fail
fast.
And you're not going to get judged. It's okay. You're actually encouraged to try things. Wow. And that's been a huge reason why I'm still at Spark.
Yeah. Because that's a lot. How long has it been now?
I've just entered my 10th year.
Wow!
Oh my gosh.
Do they give you like a watch or something?
I don't know.
Or like a fitness watch or something? Because you wouldn't want just a boring old watch. You'd want something quite cool. Or a gaming watch. Maybe gaming glasses. Yeah, because they're coming. So is it for brands, because we'll have like small brands, medium-sized brands, larger brands who might be watching this, marketing managers. What do you think's what's important to be a successful marketer in this day and age, and how come you've had such huge success with your agencies and the people you work with, and what lessons could you impart?
I have worked for certain people and worked alongside certain people who I have seen their behaviour and I didn't like it. And so I've learnt from that and how to treat people as well. So I think making sure that you treat the people that you work with and for, and the people that work for you, with kindness and empathy and treat them like humans. Don't call your agency at 9 p.m. on a Friday. That's not fair. So, I think it's just this respect that you can generate between the people that you work with. I think that's probably quite key. I think that's probably the key thing.
Relationships.
Like how long have we known each other for? Long time.
Over 10 years. I'm only 35, so not that long. So effective marketing, you've obviously cracked it. What's the recipe? Like, what is that recipe? Is it like, and I imagine Skinny, from a media point of view, were quite advanced in their media planning. So probably leant more into digital channels, or is traditional in there just as much? Like, is there a kind of recipe for success that you've built up over time?
So we do a lot of measurement. Measurement is key. And measuring brand activity is really hard because you have non-digital channels, right? So it's easy to measure digital channels, but really hard to measure non-digital channels. So, for example, when we did Phone It In, which is ironic because we're encouraged to, there's all these marketing principles that we're encouraged to do. Phone It In actually defied it all. Like
really?
So you don't normally have 50 words on a billboard.
No.
But we did.
But you did.
And we didn't have any digital, the only digital imprint that we had for that campaign was actually where the terms and conditions were held. So when you actually wanted to see
you had to go to the website.
Yeah. So we didn't do any other digital advertising, which is interesting. So it's just really working out where your data points can be and where they can sit, and driving the journey so you do get that data point that you need.
So what's your view on traditional media versus digital media and like having the right mix? You don't think that's necessarily important?
No, it is. It is. Like I said, Phone It In was a very interesting
like defied
campaign.
Everything.
Yeah. And yeah, no, I think it is very important to definitely have a mixture. Absolutely. Brand marketing, top of the funnel stuff, you want to get people to the front door. That's your storytelling. So it's very hard to tell a story on a one screen. So you do need to tell that story in an emotionally connecting way, and that could be a YouTube ad or a TV ad or even a beautiful picture on a billboard. You want to evoke that emotion. But then when you work through the funnel, you definitely need different media channels that serve different purposes.
Do you believe there is a funnel? It's interesting because there's some people saying that
100%.
Some people believe there's not a funnel.
There's
funnels are dead.
Nah, I totally believe in it.
I think they're not dead, but
yeah, totally.
Awareness, building trust,
totally,
then
and
pushing you across
that's
the
right,
line.
and into loyalty. That's one person is always in one of those sections at any one time. So you've got to treat your customer wherever they are. Yeah.
And what's your loyalty? Did Skinny have a loyalty marketing program?
Yeah.
Oh, they do.
Yep. Yeah.
What is it based on?
We would. I think we still do this. Remember, I don't work for Skinny.
No. But when you were,
it was get friend. So which is actually what the friendvertising campaign was based on. Yes. So the friend, I don't know if you remember this.
Was it Friendversary or something?
No, it was called friendvertising. And we picked 46 people from around the country, from all over different all sorts of different diverse people, and we made the same ad 46 times, and that was crazy fun. That was crazy.
So I'm just curious. So was that really expensive? Or did you find a way to do it innovatively?
Yes.
How?
So originally,
elaborate.
Cleanso put this idea in front of us, and we're like, oh my God, this is great. Can't afford that. And they're like, 300 ads. We'll make 300 ads. And I was like, yep, cool. If we can do it in the budget. Obviously didn't do 300 ads, but we did manage to keep within budget.
How? What did they do?
Because we basically set up, with the way that they did this TV ad was they set it up so that you would have the same set, the same people, the same clothes, saying the same thing, and they would just come in and do it was like a conveyor belt pretty much.
Of people coming in. So you just had to fix like a day or 2 days?
It was a 3-day shoot.
3-day shoot, wow.
Yeah, it was so fun. We had people from everywhere, and they became really good friends. So they became our friendvertisers, and we had this WhatsApp group that went for like a year afterwards, and every time we were winning awards, I'd be like, hey guys, you're award winners, and they loved it. It was so fun.
I've been talking quite a lot with people I've been talking to about communities and how important it is to build a community around a brand, and that it shouldn't just be a one brand. To succeed in brand now these days, it shouldn't just be a one-way pushing messages out.
Correct.
You want to build a community around your brand, and that's why I think we're talking about how important social media channels and community channels are to be able to do that. What's your view on that?
Absolutely, wholeheartedly believe that. You need to have engagement with your customers, and creating community and being culturally relevant helps that. And you can't just be a brand that shows up and badges everything. You've got to you've got to give back. You've got to there's got to be a value exchange there. So they're giving us their time and information. Then what can we give them?
What's your? Do you use social media much?
Yeah, I love Instagram.
Personally?
Yeah. Facebook, I'm kind of moving on from a bit. And TikTok's interesting. I love TikTok, but scared of TikTok.
Because you go down the TikTok hole.
Yeah, and I don't.
You can have in just 2 hours will fly by, and you'll be like,
yeah, that's right. And so I've got a good group of friends, they just send me all the best bits.
Yeah.
So I'm like, cool, that's all I need. I still get the best of TikTok, but it's there's too much information. You've got to be really, and this is how marketers should treat it too, right? You can't just throw things and hope that it sticks. You've got to be, as people's attention,
it's becoming shorter and shorter.
Exactly.
And shorter.
You've got to
2
be.
seconds.
How do you become?
Not even.
How do you become that first TikTok video? And time is valuable.
I think it's really interesting because I'm on TikTok a lot, and they've built it as an entertainment channel. It's not competing with Instagram and Facebook. It's competing with TV and YouTube.
Yeah.
When you look at all the stats, it's YouTube that's getting minutes are going down, and then TikTok is sort of shooting it to the front of the pack.
Yeah.
I will now spend time watching TikTok. I don't watch TV.
Yeah.
Like I just literally it's like my way of relaxing.
Yeah.
And now I'll just watch forever.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting when these brands at the moment are like, obviously you can see media agencies going, okay, TikTok it is important, we need to be there. But then they take that first ad when you first open it up. It's a bit like a billboard, and it's the first ad you see, but they haven't created the creative for the environment. So it's like chucking a billboard in an environment which I'm sure they, from an effectiveness point of view, like I don't think.
Exactly.
And so that's something that I wanted to talk to you about is like, I call it matching luggage.
Yeah.
And how, what's your view on the kind of having creative and creating a suite of assets in a campaign and then making everything match, or kind of utilising one video creative and editing it for the different channels versus creating specifically for the environment?
Yes, well, absolutely you need to create for the specific environment. However, I think there does need to be some kind of matching luggage, absolutely, so that you understand.
I think there should just be a matching luggage tag, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what your effectiveness on your brand principles are, right? So for Skinny, everything's orange, or we've got the sound, or there's a, some brands use a voice, so there has to be some kind of consistency. Yeah, so then you're not. I see this all the time where I'm sitting. I do actually watch TV and I do actually watch ads, but I sit there and if you've got to wait for 10 seconds to work out who this ad is for,
I don't get
you're
that.
concentrating on that rather than the message that they're trying to tell you. Yeah. And that doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't make sense to me either. They
Regardless
don't put the logo on till the end, and you're like,
it's logos. Logos are really funny with me. I don't like a real big glaring logo because it's just nasty.
In your face.
Totally. But there are lots of little things that you can do that can encourage effectiveness and people to understand what you're trying to do immediately. Yeah.
What do you follow the research that sort of comes out annually from like where are the audiences and stuff, and like how digital, traditional, and how the shift has happened? And so in terms of marketing and effectiveness and what that looks like going forwards, what should brands be looking to maybe consider and ensure that they're including, or like key things that they need to think about when they're creating campaigns that will succeed? Yeah.
So first of all, measurement. Just make sure you've got
success.
You've got some baseline metrics. Secondly, I'm a huge fan of not doing what a normal ad would do. So turning up in an unexpected way. And Skinny has been really successful in doing that. So I hope that continues to happen. Just doing things that are a little bit unusual, unexpected.
And is that because you think we're all just getting attention spans that are less than goldfish? So you've got to stand out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, we're drowning in information.
Yeah.
And so how are you going to cut through?
Yeah, and then there's all these really smart people who are putting on ad blockers and all that sort of stuff, right? You've got to, what a waste of money if you're going to be spending money on advertising. It's such an interesting sort of concept because we, as marketers, we spend so much money on literally getting people to the front door. Yeah. And if they can't open it, then what a waste.
Talk about that. What do you mean by that? When they can't...
So brand marketers, we spend a lot of money on getting people
awareness and knowing about it
into the front door of our store, right?
Yeah.
And if they have ad blockers or they're not interested in the offer, the door's locked, right? There's something that they're not really interested in. Or so, for example, the e-com site might have a bug in it. And if you can't convert, then what a waste of all that money.
I've seen ads where big brands are doing a promotion of some kind, and then I've gone to their website, and then they've made the mistake of not putting it on the homepage, and you're like,
I know,
I'm trying to find this one thing that you're talking about everywhere, and I can't find it. It's so funny how they don't think through the full customer journey.
Yeah, and that's the funnel.
Yeah. Funnels are not dead.
Yeah, agree.
So this working in startup versus working in corporate, you've worked in both.
Yeah.
And you are able to do both.
Yeah.
What are the key differences in those two environments?
Yeah. Within corporate, there is so many internal processes that you have to spend time on.
Red tape.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say it's red tape. It's all really essential stuff.
Key hurdles.
But it does take up a lot of time, business cases and all that kind of stuff. So it allows you to do more than a startup would because you have more resources. And I love working in both. But with startups, you're kind of doing it all, right? So you get to put your energy into the things that you think are going to be most impactful. Whereas with corporates, you do have to do a lot of things that you wouldn't do. Do
you think corporates need to? I think that with AI and with the world changing as quickly as it is, they all need to kind of become challenger brands to themselves.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's a massive shift coming.
Yeah.
And
it's already coming.
It's
already here.
Coming and it's here.
Yeah.
And so it's like businesses to succeed are going to need to figure out how they can be more nimble.
Yeah.
And a lot of businesses don't like to be nimble because there's so many people, there's so many processes, there's so much so many steps that they've created, and to then go and break it all. I suppose that's kind of what is agile meant to be, the ability to almost protect businesses from that, because it's adopting a process of being agile and being willing to shift quickly.
Yeah, so the agile methodology is all around empowering end-to-end teams to drive business outcomes. I love it. I've been doing agile for 5 years now.
Some people love it and some people hate it.
Yeah,
I've personally never worked with it as much, so I only know it from kind of the outside. I've worked with tech teams who use it.
Yeah.
But then
that's
interesting.
Where it's come from.
Spark applied it to the entire business.
Yes.
And so I was like, how does that work from a marketing point of view when you're trying to create like a 3-year plan or a 24-month plan, and then you've got this agile philosophy that's built into the whole ethos of the company.
Yeah.
How does that?
Yeah. So it took especially brand marketing, because brand marketing is long term, right?
Yeah.
It took us a little while, a couple of years really, to kind of get into it. We always thought that we were the square peg in the round hole?
Yeah.
And that we were just trying to push ourselves in that direction. But we're in a good cadence now where, because with Agile you split everything up into 2-week sprints. So now we still do work in 2-week sprints, but we know that we've got an end result in a month, 2 months, three months.
Yeah.
So we break that down
into 2-week sprints.
Yeah. So it's good. It's
but like from a marketing point of view, this is the question I've always had. Say you decide you want to do this amazing marketing campaign. It's an incredible idea. You need something to change in the app or the website to be built.
Yeah.
They're working in 2-week sprints, and you've got a campaign coming up in 6 months or a year.
Yeah.
But they're not willing to commit to something that's that far out because they are going to be prioritising what's important. How does that work?
Yeah. So if that was something that we wanted to do, then you would go and pre-plan with that team, and you would prioritise where their work goes, where our work goes to hit that same goal.
That sounds quite hard.
It's really interesting. We have this thing called dependency marketplace.
Yeah.
And it's where every single PO in the entire business gets on a call and we start having conversations with everyone about the things that we're about to do. It's amazing. It's so cool because it's this time where you can really plan ahead and get the resource that you need to execute.
And is it almost to try and get each other's buy-in so that when someone is asking for something, then the others are like, yeah, well, actually, fair enough, that's really important, we should do that.
Yeah.
Ah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. It's good. I really enjoy it.
So, did you manage a team of 40? Or are you doing that now, managing a team of 40?
No, I was the domain chapter lead. That was almost a year ago now. So I've come out of that role and into this little
with tight team of 4.
Yeah.
So when you were in that large team environment, how did you foster a collaborative environment where you got so much done?
Yeah. First of all, setting up we call them ceremonies in Agile. So Agile encourages a lot of these sort of meetings where you come together and we pre-plan for a quarter in advance. So if you're really organised, you're actually planned down to every sprint. So you know exactly what you're doing in sprint, 13 of that quarter. Well, actually, there's not 13 sprints, but 12, right?
Yeah.
And everyone tells everyone their plan, which is great. So you have this opportunity to actually speak about what you want to do because Agile encourages end-to-end empowerment. So you literally, you and your team get to set the strategy. And we have the senior management who would say yes or no, but they don't really get involved. It's great. This is the whole point of Agile. You get to set the things that you want to do, within reason, of course. So we have these sessions where we all review each other's work because you propose what you're going to do, and then somebody will come in and say, oh, I can help you with that, or we can connect on here, we can share resource here. And then every 2 weeks, the tribe, there are tribes all around the place, but we come together and do sprint reviews. So we come back and review the work that we've done in the last 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Which is awesome.
So it's like a show and tell.
100%.
Yeah.
So it's very collaborative, even though it's quite, they're quite, business-wide meetings. But people learn from it. People throw up their mistakes that they've made, encourage other people to do certain things. So
that to me sounds like though you've created, or Spark has created, a really trusting environment.
Correct.
Like that sounds to me to be quite unique.
Yeah.
Where you're giving people the permission to fail, like you say, and it being okay, and to share the learnings with everybody so they don't have to make those mistakes themselves. Yeah. That to me sounds like a pretty forward-thinking business. Yeah. Which is probably why you've been there.
Exactly.
Yeah, for as long as you have.
Yeah, I love it. It's awesome.
That's really unique. Businesses say they want to do that, but I don't think they necessarily do.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Wow, that's really cool. So having worked across the world in your career, do you see that there's differences in marketing approaches across the globe, or do you think there's kind of the strategies that succeed have all kind of got the same principles at the core of them?
Yeah, I think so. I think in this world where you get to read and speak and hear and to people all over the world, I think it's kind of much the same. Surely there are other countries that are more future focused than others. But when I worked overseas, that was a completely different world. I worked in a startup or startups that didn't have much money. So it was a different type of marketing, completely different type of marketing. Yeah, it wasn't
cutting edge.
It was just, I actually concentrated a lot on influencers.
Yes.
Yeah, we did a lot of influencer work.
Yeah. That's interesting because that's a bit of a... What do you think about that now? Because that was a while ago.
Yeah.
But I still think one of the guests that I had, Brooke, was talking a lot about influencers and ambassadors and content creators. What's your view on all of that and how important it is in this day and age?
Yeah, well, like I said, brands don't... you don't want to just be talked at, right?
No.
So... brands who just badge stuff and just turn up and not bring any interest or anything, they're not going to get any cut through. Whereas, you pay attention to the people you want to pay attention to. And as long as they're authentic about what they're trying to do, then, I think that's awesome. People still love watching. They're still entertaining, even if they're selling things. As long as they're being authentically doing so, then, I think it's great. And influencers don't have to be the influencers that we know either. They can be. So for advertising, our influencers were just the people that we put in our ads, and we just hoped that people would see somebody that they knew in one of our ads, and that's way more effective than listening to an ad that doesn't know you. You're always going to listen to somebody that you know.
So you think in this day and age, influencers are still really important part of the mix?
Definitely. Yeah.
And as a forward-thinking leader, innovative, brave, all of those things, what are you most excited about? What's coming?
Definitely excited to see what AI is going to bring. Of course.
Some people are like, oh, I'm so bored of AI. Everybody was talking about it last year, but oh my god, it's so exciting.
Yeah,
I just can't get enough of it.
Yeah, it's
literally going to change everything.
Absolutely, it is changing everything now. Yeah,
and I don't think people quite
know
what's coming or how much it's going to affect all of us.
Yeah.
Brooke was giving us a heads up. He was like, just, mentally prepare yourselves.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You do have to think about how things are going to change. I'm sitting there going, photography, for example.
Yeah.
Like a photographer's going to be needed. And they could do, from a personal point of view, you might get value, like art, right? If you have a photographer that's taking a picture as a human part to that, is that worth more than a machine?
Just taking a shot, and then with AI you can put it into any background now.
Yeah.
And then you can animate it.
But how do you authenticate that?
Yeah.
How do you value a human versus a machine? So there's so many. Just gotta think about how things are going to change. And
Brooke was like, my parting thought is that you all go and do some reading about AI and what it's going to do,
100%.
And just start following the podcasts and the articles and the whatever, like just start tapping in.
Yeah.
Because even though everyone's like, I'm so sick of it, hopefully this year people will stop talking about it so much. I'm like,
but
this is the biggest thing that's ever happened.
Those are the people that
in our lifetimes
aren't paying attention.
No.
Right? Like this is going to completely change everything that we do.
Everything.
Yeah.
It's
huge.
Are you, do you have like a tool that you use the most? Like I use ChatGPT, but do you?
No, we're still sort of learning what tools are right for us, because there's so much, Spark's huge. There's so much IP that we have to protect.
But for you personally, outside of work?
Yeah, I've just started using Bing a bit more.
Yeah.
So that's quite interesting. There's so many parts to the jobs that we do that will change every aspect that we do.
It's exciting and scary.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
On both levels.
Yeah. So, what in 2024? What trends and for marketing strategy and things like that do you think are going to be big? So I'm talking about Brooke because he was here earlier today, but he was talking about e-com inside live selling, live selling inside TikTok. So we have these influencers who basically have their channels and they go live and they start selling product within the channel, as opposed to you don't need to click off to a website anymore. It's like changing the way e-com's going to work.
Yeah. I actually hope that advertising becomes a bit more omni-channel.
Yeah.
So you're paying attention to one thing that then bounces into another device, for example.
And there's a journey.
Totally. That hasn't been cracked yet. Yeah. So if you think you're watching TV and then you're on your phone, right?
Yeah.
Ideally, you'd be...
Well, I kind of do both at the same time.
Yeah, that's right. But if you're engaged with something and then there's got to be that's got to happen at some point.
Yeah.
And yeah, as brands, everyone knows there's so much data that's coming out from people. People willingly give their data, which is cool because that's fine. Every time you get onto a website, you push the accept all button. So yeah, it's kind of it's expected now. But I think people get really scared of being served ads that they have been listened to, for example.
Like highly relevant.
Yeah.
Like you've just talked to your mate about going on a skiing
Yeah.
trip and suddenly you're getting snow boots. Or,
Yeah. But I love that. I'd rather get served an ad than
relevant,
baby
timely.
nappies.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have a baby, so that's a waste of my time watching that pop up. Yeah, so I actually don't mind it. I'm not scared by that.
So one other question I had was, what's your view on, and I think I kind of know what you're going to say because you were talking about the ad that you created with the 20-something or 30-something versions.
46 people, yeah.
What's your view on lo-fi versus highly produced and where you think that's going?
Yeah. I think it's determined by the type of brand you have. For skinny, absolutely lo-fi and be relevant and in the moment and whatnot. But if you're a brand where you're trying to be premium, then that might not suit.
Do you think in this day and age where kind of authenticity matters that's the
you can
case?
still do authenticity with hi-fi?
Yeah.
It's just how you you were talking about a potential iPhone, right? Just pulling out an iPhone, and it depends. You know, like if it's an influencer who has certain high standards, for example, then awesome. But if it's a TV ad or a billboard, you know, for example, Skinny, we used to always love street posters because after a week or so they kind of looked a little bit ratty. So it was okay because we didn't want to be seen as spending lots and lots of money on expensive media, right?
Yeah.
So that suited us. That was fine. That was lo-fi. That was who the brand was. So yeah.
That's interesting. And with your learning and staying on top of stuff and kind of continuously keeping at the forefront of where things are going, where do you do your learning? Like how do you keep? Are you on podcasts or are you reading books or what are you doing?
So I don't read. I'm one of these people that just
don't read that even digital.
I read the news.
Oh.
I don't really get inspiration from reading.
So
like I said, I don't follow TikTok. Like I get all this. My friends tell me stuff, which is cool. But I listen to podcasts.
So you do listen to podcasts?
Yeah, I totally listen to podcasts. Yeah.
I love podcasts, which is why we're doing one now.
And there's a gap in the market for New Zealand marketing for a podcast. So
boom, this is it.
Yeah. So this is great. This is awesome. Imagine listening to some people from around New Zealand and what they are experiencing. I think this is fantastic.
Yeah. I'm super excited to get into what makes successful marketing, and digital marketing and social media marketing, and where are we going and what are the trends and how do we get, and I think it comes from my I always feel like I don't know it all at all, and so I'm always wanting to learn. Yeah. Well, some people think they do, but I'm the first to always be like, okay, I want to know more. Tell me more. I don't know it all. Please tell me.
Yeah.
And so I like to be challenged, and I like to figure out if there are new ways of doing stuff, and so that means I quite like pushing boundaries. Yeah. And being quite innovative and it just comes from, I think, just like these conversations. To me, I'm like loving hearing how people think and how do they approach stuff and how do you get the success that you've had, and because
and everyone's different, right?
Yeah.
Like just because I do it this way, it doesn't mean it's the right way. Yeah. You know, that's the beauty with marketing.
But have you had like mentors that you've worked with who kind of have taught you taught you the way? And
Yeah, totally. I've had some amazing leaders who some things I've liked what they've done, some things I haven't. So I've learnt from both.
And do you go to like industry events and stuff and keep in with everyone and kind of
Yeah, I do. That's definitely where I get inspiration.
I've seen some
from.
of your outfits. They're pretty special. If anybody wants to know, Ali's got an incredible wardrobe.
Yeah, I'm very, very
How big
lucky.
is that wardrobe? I imagine in that apartment of yours, it might be in a
it's
whole
pretty
room
small.
now.
No, I actually, I need
Walk-in
to.
wardrobe?
Yeah, no, I need a bigger wardrobe.
Maybe you should buy the apartment next door, and that can be the wardrobe.
Yeah, no, it's I love a good outfit.
You do.
Yeah.
You look amazing. I've seen some
you.
incredible photos. So work-life balance, because you're smashing goals, kicking ass. How do you balance it all?
I remember.
And what do you do?
Yeah, so
Any
I
tips?
remember years ago, actually, was probably working in Vodafone, and there was it was a very high pressure situation, as we both know.
I loved that
and
high pressure. It was good.
Yeah,
You get a bit addicted to it.
yeah, it was really good, and we worked really hard. But again, you didn't necessarily see the best aspects of certain people. And I remember at one situation, I can't remember who it was now, but somebody said, "Why is this such a problem?"
We're not saving lives.
Exactly. And that so resonated
I
with
remember
me.
someone saying
we were probably in the same room. But for me, I was
We're
just
selling
like,
phones. We're not saving lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So why are we taking ourselves so seriously? And I'm really lucky. I don't get anxious a lot. So I don't go to sleep with my mind whizzing. I go straight to sleep. I'm really lucky.
Oh, wow, that's like,
So
you should bag that up and sell it,
Yeah.
because you'd be a millionaire. Wow.
and
How do you do that?
I don't know. I'm a morning person, so I get up early and my brain literally stops working. 3, 4, 5.
So do you get up at like 4 a.m. and do exercise or something?
No. I don't get up ridiculously early. I'm just naturally. It's easy for me to get up.
Yeah.
So I understand when my best work is, when I can focus properly.
Is it in the morning then?
Yeah, in the morning. And then, when I close my laptop, that's it for the day. I don't think about it. Unless I've got something
Pressing.
Yeah.
So you're quite good where you create delineated boundaries.
Yeah. I switch off completely.
At like what time do you switch off?
When I close my laptop,
So
which
is
is
that
usually at 5.
Wow.
Yeah, I usually go home at 5 most days.
And that's amazing.
Yeah.
But when you're there, you're like a powerhouse.
Yes. I actually would
Get so much
100%
done.
say that. Yeah. There is all sorts going on
Yeah.
between those working hours. Yeah. It's fun. It's challenging.
Do you have lunch?
Yeah,
Do you
totally.
have a lunch break? Or do you just keep going through?
Usually at my desk, that's when I kind of catch up on emails and stuff, which I know isn't the best.
I think everybody does it.
Yeah. It's but there's lots of perks to this job as well, right? So yeah, it all comes around and roundabouts.
And so what is next? Like, I know you're doing amazing work with the gaming arena, Spark Gaming Arena now, but like 5 years down the line, are you going to be CEO of Spark?
I don't know if I want to be a CEO, to be honest. Definitely CMO somewhere.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. In any kind of industry that really, like...
No, I've worked in all sorts of different industries, so I'm up for it. I'm up for whatever gets thrown my way. I mean, who thought I was going to get into gaming? I know. And it's awesome.
And you love it.
It's so awesome. Yeah, because
And I
it's a
know that
challenge.
there's some exciting things happening, but you can't talk about it.
Yeah, I can't talk about it yet.
But watch the space.
Yeah.
And so as we wrap up, could you share one empowering insight or piece of advice you'd like our listeners to take away from this conversation today on how to win and just be like do awesome work?
Yeah. I think, well, I'll give 2 pieces. One is be bold.
Yeah.
It for example, in telco, we sell text, data, and minutes. So other brands do. So how do you differentiate yourself between that? If you're selling the same stuff, it's the brand that's leading that out. And you've got to stand out. You've got to do things that potentially no one's ever seen before. So you've got to take risks.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you've got to do it in the right way. So you've got to make sure you've got all your stakeholders lined up.
How do you get stakeholders to go, hey, I'm going to be really risky here? How do you get them on the journey?
If they always say no, keep talking to them until they put you in the right direction where they'll say yes.
Yeah.
Don't accept no.
Yeah.
I
like that.
I've also been known to put our lawyer in one of my ads, which was great. She was fantastic. She's a great actress, but also stakeholder management. She was there to sign it off, and it was great. So that's how we would move quickly and didn't have to pay talent. Great. And then the second piece of information, which was, if anyone ever asks, what's your biggest advice? I always think that 80% is better than 0%.
Yeah.
And to actually put that in practical terms, if you're building an e-com website and you have all the products ready to go, but your checkout's not working, then you're getting 0%. You're not getting 80%. So you're not making any money. So put in 80% of the products, then get your checkout live, and then do the rest of the 20% later.
Yeah, it shouldn't have to be perfect to get going.
That's right.
I think that's kind of come from Agile, maybe, has it?
No, that's something that I've always been taught.
Yeah.
But it's very true. People get hung up on the perfection, but don't see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much.
This has been so fun. Thank you.
Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah.
Yay.
Totally. Yeah.
We'll get you back.
I'll wear makeup next time.
And one of your amazing,
yeah,
incredible outfits. Awesome. Thank you.